Hello, Button Mashers. This is Draco here. Yeah, Draco. New show host from the old show hosts of the old show onto the new show. I know it's very confusing. I got a guest here that we haven't had on yet. Kira Buckland, aka Rinachan.
Hi.
Now, Kira, do you want me to call you Kira or Rena? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. Well, Kira, you've been in some anime and a lot of games. You're in the Burning community, and for those of us that are old enough, you've been in Newgrounds community as well.
Yeah.
You had a website, if I remember right, like it was like a voice acting boot camp almost.
Voice acting club.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll go into voice acting club and why you started? When did you start voice acting? What did you generally feel like when you first started it, and also what kind of pushed you towards that?
Well, I started voice acting on the internet, obviously. I lived in Alaska at the time, which is where I grew up. So obviously there wasn't really anything in the way of voice acting classes or like actual voice acting jobs you can do up there. But I knew some people through my DDR group in high school who did like fan dubs, like flash animations, things like that. And I was like, wait, because I watched anime and played games, and I was like, oh, I want to do the voices like that, but I didn't know anything about how to go about it. And they said, oh, well, you can do this stuff like online. You record it on your computer and you can send auditions and stuff. And I was like, what? That sounds so cool. So I signed up, and I was really, really awful when I first started. Like, just like the cringe-worthy anime dubs that you think of. Like, that was kind of what my delivery was. Because everyone thinks they're better than they are when they first start. So I'm like, yeah, I sound awesome recording this. And in reality, it was like, I will defeat you. It was really bad. So I didn't get cast very much for like my first few months of doing it, and then I started getting like a few things, and then I found Newgrounds, and I kind of got lucky there because there weren't a lot of female voice actresses on the site at the time. So a lot of times when people needed a girl voice, they would either like pitch their own voice up or try to get their sister to do it or something. And so that was kind of an in there, I guess.
I mean, that's kind of, I guess you could say a beginning story to everyone. Like, they always suck at everything they try it. They're like, oh, I'm so great at putting this computer together. Why isn't it a bunch of pieces and not together yet?
Yeah, I think I don't know, like people have this mentality when they're first starting that, oh, maybe I couldn't be a voice actor because I don't have a cartoony voice, or, well, people tell me I have a good voice, so I should do voice acting. And I think there's way too much emphasis that people place on that when they're just starting out. And in reality, it's not really like that because you can teach yourself to change your voice. You can teach yourself to do all sorts of different voices. The characters that I got cast as the most, and still do, I guess, are like a lot higher and cuter and brattier sounding than my normal voice. And so it doesn't really matter how you sound normally as long as you can make your voice do what you want it to do. Because, I mean, even speaking as like a producer as well here, I would rather cast somebody who has good acting and a slightly less fitting voice than someone who has the right voice tone but can't act and sounds like a robot or sounds like really overacted.
There's having a voice like, oh, hey, the voice matches, but it's so dull and uh, it's one thing to see good acting because you can see a good actor in just about any movie. Like, you're like, oh, why was he cast at this part? He's a much better actor than whatever. Then you have the ones that are like, oh my god, this part's too epic for this guy. He's totally not doing it justice, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the voice acting club. Why? Like, when did you start that, and what was the purpose behind it?
That actually started in, I believe it was 2005. And it was because at the time on Newgrounds, we just had a singular thread. And the way that the Newgrounds forums work, at least back then, I don't know how it is now, was you couldn't edit or delete your posts. So it made it really difficult because obviously I wanted like the first post of the thread to be something like, the rules and how to post an audition and stuff. But I couldn't because I couldn't edit the post. And, it got to be like hundreds of pages. So I said, okay, why don't we just make a separate forum? That way we can moderate it as we need to. We can enforce the rules. We can have different audition topics. So it's not just a singular thread that goes on and on forever. And so I did that and then trying to get people to merge over because some people didn't want to create an account on another forum to look for voice actors or this and that, but overall it kind of blew up and then it got a lot of people outside of Newgrounds as well.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, it's good to hear that something like that is popular because, or is growing rather, and becoming popular because it's one of those things where people need to learn how to do what they want to do rather than just like sucking at it. I mean, you could suck at it all day long and never learn anything, or you can learn something from your mistake and get better.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just what you got to do is go in and audition for everything that there's a character you might remotely fit. Once in a while, you might even get some good critique out of it, but if nothing else, you're practicing, you're getting your voice out there, and it takes time. Some people kind of pick it up right away, but with others, it's like you have to really work. Definitely take critique because there's a lot of things now that I tell people when they're asking me for critique or advice that I wish I had known when I was first starting out. So,
all right, Kira, I gotta ask since we're on the subject of Newgrounds anyway. Brawl Taunts. let's go ahead and go there. Brawl Taunts. Where did that come from?
It literally came from me and my friend at the time sitting down in his living room playing Brawl when it first came out and being like, oh, I bet this is something that would be funny if the character said this or whatever. And we were just like playing as the characters and playing stupid things. Like I remember he played Captain Falcon and he was just like, show me a boobs, like doing the taunt. And then we were looking at what the final smashes were because, the game had just came out and we're like, oh, we got to see what it is, even though you don't play with those competitively. And so I remember King DDDs. I was just like, what's that? The Big Gay Dance or whatever. And that just kind of like became a thing. And I don't know, like a lot of people obviously later do not really like Brawl Taunts because they say that it was offensive, the humor and stuff like that. And I totally get where they're coming from now, but at the time, for its time, it was like Newgrounds was full of that kind of humor, like 12-year-olds, dick jokes, stuff like that. So
yeah.
It was kind of just writing for that audience at the time.
Yeah, it was kind of part and parcel there. I mean, you had Metal Gear Awesome, you had Brawl Taunts, you had a whole bunch, it's a whole slew of like fart jokes, boob jokes, and a whole bunch of other stuff on Newgrounds at any given time, at any part of the day.
Exactly, and it was just sort of also one of those things where nothing was off limits for us to make fun of. I mean, I remember somebody even got upset because they're like, oh, well, you guys are making fun of, like, people who play the game competitively. I'm like, hi, at that time I was going to a Brawl tournament every weekend. Like, I'm one of those Final Destination no items people, So,
nice.
Yeah, it was just kind of, it is what it is for the time.
Yeah. All right, so, speaking of going up from there, Chris kind of had a thing called TTA back in the day that was sprite animated, had some voice acting to it. You're now in the revamped version called Tome as for Eva. Do you generally have that much energy, or did you have to like drink a bunch of Monster to get that much?
Well, I'm pretty good at doing energetic characters overall, I'd say, because I don't know, like I'm not really a hyper person in real life, although I do drink a ton of coffee. I'm drinking coffee right now as we're doing this interview. But I don't know, I just like doing like characters that are kind of over the top, super energetic, stuff like that. And I guess it's always been sort of a specialty.
You've been in quite a few video games, some known, some are unknown. I mean, you're in an Atelier game, Atelier Aisha.
Mm-hmm.
You're in Atlantica Online. Bravely Default, which is huge. Although, spoilers, you die.
Yeah.
You are every princess in Castle Crashers. Which is kind of weird. No offense. It's like, yeah, like 8 split personalities just about there.
Oh, have you heard of Mugen Souls? Because there, my character literally has 8 different personalities.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I haven't played much of Mugen, to be honest with you. I'm not fighting type, or the
Oh, it's
fighting
not
game
the
type.
Mugen game. It's called Mugen Souls. It's like a JRPG for PS3.
Oh, no, I have not.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to buy this then. Oh, man. Dynasty Warriors. That's a big like series, I guess you can call like in Japan at least. But I mean, we've had like a ton of Dynasty games. Dust and Legion Tale, which is a really good indie game. Dungeon Fighter Online. That's it got mixed reviews, but it is what it is. People like it. Heroes of New Earth. We have Luminous Arc 2, Mabel Story, Ragnarok Odyssey. I love the Ragnarok games, by the way. Skullgirls, which I think they just released Big Band not too long ago.
Yeah.
So when does your character come out?
I don't know if she'll ever be playable. I want her to be. I've wanted that for so long because my biggest dream, I guess you could say, for voice acting is I want to be a playable character in a fighting game. But I don't know if it's ever going to happen because they did like the character vote thing and people wanted other new characters that they didn't know anything about yet. So honestly, I don't know if it's ever going to be a thing.
Well, speaking of fighting games, Fighting is Magic is still not dead yet. Are you still the announcer for that?
I mean, I recorded a long time ago, so if they're still doing a thing, I hope they keep me, but I don't know because they got the cease and desist and then last I heard they were going to make something different out of it, but I haven't heard anything about that.
Well, according to their website and also from like the big news of last year, Lauren Faust is helping them come up with character designs. They have new character designs and they're working on hitboxes. They also have Skullgirl's new engine. So it's pretty much like, I don't want to say set in stone, but it's pretty much like a boon and also a bane. When you have someone big like Lauren Faust helping you, you've got to finish it no matter what. You can't just say, "Oh, I quit." that would look terrible. So like you've got a ton of games under your belt. What was your first, and how did it feel to get put into a video game?
What was my first game? I'm trying to think. Was it? No, I don't think it was. Was it Castle Crashers? It was because sometimes like you record and then it takes a long time for the game to come out. But I remember because Castle Crashers I got from Newgrounds. I recorded that from home. Then there was also a game called Away Shuffle Dungeon for the DS that nobody ever played except for me. Like I bought it because I was like, oh, I'm in a DS game. I have to get this. And yeah, it was like a few random villager characters in that.
Hey, don't knock it, man. I mean, like, to be in a game. How many people can say that they're in a game?
True. I guess I know a lot of people who are in games, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I was in as many games as these people, but it's however you compare, I guess.
Not everybody can be Jennifer Taylor. or John DiMaggio, for that matter. Jesus, he's in a lot of stuff. I mean, it's one of those things where it's pretty cool to see you on these games and also in fan projects and whatnot. Now, have you since stopped doing as many fan projects? Because a lot of people might remember your voices from like Colgate and other ponies like Twilight and you did a pretty good Fluttershy if I remember correctly in a few fan animations.
Yeah, now I pretty much, well, actually Twilight was more the character that I was, I guess you could say, known for, like, sounding like or whatever, but, I don't know, these days, because I'm just really trying to get my career going, I kind of dropped out of the whole, like, fan project scene. I'll still voice act, like, for my friends or produce projects here and there with, like, my Tumblr friends, but for the most part, I'm just trying to move on to, like, paid roles and stuff, because it was, like, I would go onto my email and I get all these requests for things with, like, these short deadlines and, you know, it's like a free project kind of thing. And it was just like stressing me out because I have a real job. I'm trying to do like my voice acting stuff as well. So it was kind of like, too much. I can't make everyone happy. And then people would be like, where are my lines? It's past the deadline. I'm like, sorry. Yeah. So I just had to cut back for like my own sake, I guess.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. That's something that is all too common for people trying to do a professional and a fan project at the same time. It's nothing anybody can blame you for.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, for people who want to commission me, my rates are super cheap. Like here and there, someone will be like, "Hey, I want your Twilight voice for something. Here, I'll pay your commission rate." And it's like, okay, cool.
That's pretty. That is pretty cool. I mean, you get Twilight, and it's not as expensive as some other people might be.
Yeah, I mean, literally, like for people who want to commission me, I only charge 50 cents a line for like fan projects. So you want me to do 20 lines? That's like $10, 2 cups of coffee.
2 cups of coffee. There you go.
I measure everything in coffee. I have a fascination with that.
I think it's more of borderline addiction.
Yeah, true.
Do we need an intervention, Kira? Do we need to come there and just, hoard all the coffee so you can't get it? And then the town
No,
burned
I
down.
like my coffee.
LA was on fire for days. Oh man, that would be weird. But okay. So question: you're in some pretty well-known anime like Blue Exorcist and Moribito.
Yeah.
How how did that go? I mean, that must be different than what you're used to with video games because you gotta match the mouth flaps and whatnot as well. How was that different from I guess I could say Japanese games in a way?
Like the difference of anime versus games recording?
Yeah, like the difference between anime and Japanese games and anime. What was the difference? Because transferring it from Japanese to English, where Japanese can have shortcuts and English can't really. What was the similarities and differences?
The timing is the big thing for anime because a lot of times, I mean, I've noticed people are very quick to say, like, oh, I hate the way this voice actor delivered this line in the dub or whatever. But a lot of times, dubbing is more about timing than trying to get the performance just right. I mean, if they have the budget for it and you have a good director, they will still work with you after you get the timing down to try to get the line just right as well. But for the most part, you can have a great read, and if it doesn't fit the mouth, like you read it too fast or too slow, then they can't use it. So, at least how it's been done where I work is they'll have like 3 beeps, and then they'll play the line in Japanese, and then 3 beeps again, and you do the line in English. And, sometimes that little amount of time you get to see the Japanese preview is not enough time to like rehearse the line and figure out the timing. So there's a lot of trial and error, but you kind of get better at it as time goes by. And I guess, yeah, there's just like a lot less freedom in how you deliver the lines because you're so worried about the time constraints. For games, occasionally they have timed scenes, like if it's a cut scene where the characters have mouths and then you have to match that up. But for the most part, even if the game was originally done in Japanese, it'll be like visual novel style for the dialogue. So you'll see a picture of the character, but there won't be a mouth you have to match up. So maybe you'll hear the original line in Japanese for a reference, but you don't have to match the timing. And so you have a lot more freedom with how you approach the line. Like if you want to pause at a certain place or this or that. Like, because sometimes when you're reading a line, it just feels more natural to like pace it out a certain way. But when you're going with the way that the mouths were originally animated in the Japanese, you don't have that option. You just have to go with what's there.
That's something I keep hearing over and over again when I interview voice actresses that have not only video game but also anime roles as well. So, have you ever gone into a voice recording and stand next to someone that you just like? Not at the time of recording, but afterwards, like, oh my god, I totally just recorded with blank.
Um, yeah, like I don't know, it's really cool to see the rest of the cast. Like if I see, a trailer for a project that's coming out or this and that, because most of the time when we go in, we don't know who else is in the cast. Like maybe if they already recorded and we hear their lines during like the preview, it'll be like, oh, I think that's this person, but for the most part, you don't know who the rest of the cast is when you're recording.
All right, I got a question from Osaka Jack. How many different versions of have you had to say?
Um, Not really a lot because I haven't done like most of the games I've done have been more like JRPGs and things like that. So there's not really so many efforts that go into it. I mean, I always hear voice actors complain about having to do efforts because I guess it hurts their voice. And I'm like, oh, I want a game where I get to do battle efforts. That sounds fun.
But then you could possibly get a role where you're like Danielle McRae and you're doing a death throaty voice.
Yeah, that seems like it would be hard. I mean, I've been trying to work on doing the sort of voices that kind of hurt to do so that I can do them without hurting. Like, I guess a good example is Rainbow Dash, for example, because she was originally like my favorite pony when I first saw the show, and I'm like, oh, her mane is so cool, and I want to she was the first pony I ever cosplayed, and I was like, oh, Rainbow Dash is so awesome, but I can't do her voice at all because it's very, my voice is more like Twilight's, the kind of voices that
Yeah,
I'm usually cast as, and then Rainbow Dash has like this gravelly kind of thing going on,
it's got a
and I
grunge.
just could not do it. And then now I can kind of do Rainbow Dash without it hurting, but it took a while to kind of get that going.
Yeah, it's definitely got a grunge to it, and it's not for amateurs, I guess you could say. It's kind of like Billy West doing Popeye and trying to explain it at the same time and teach people how to do it. It's like I see what you're doing, but I can't do that.
It's also kind of how like certain qualities that your voice has because some people just have scratchier voices. Like, I mean, I've seen Ashley Ball in person. Like, I've gone to a couple of Hey Ocean concerts and stuff like that. And even when she's just singing or talking as herself, she kind of has that thing going on, like, just without trying. Like, that's just her voice. And so she kind of turns that up a little for Rainbow Dash and makes it work. But it's like, for me, I don't have that. So it's like, okay, doing something like Twilight is easier, but, and same thing for maybe if someone had that kind of voice and was trying to do like a Twilight or Pinkie Pie kind of voice. It's just like different people have different strengths and weaknesses, but you can still
Mhm.
kind of learn to do things outside of your comfort zone. If that makes sense. I'm sorry, I'm
Oh no,
talking
it
a
makes
lot.
sense. No, it makes sense, and it's perfectly fine. Talk, you talk, 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 talk. It's okay. It's about you. This is an interview for you. It's okay. Although I'm going to reminisce a little bit. I do remember meeting you for the first time at Canterlot Gardens in 2012, up in Strongsville, Ohio.
Oh, cool.
Met you, and I actually got to meet Meredith for the first time too, and she is short.
I know.
Oh man, and that was such a weird con. It's like, oh hey, PonyCon. Oh, what the hell is Jennifer Tyler doing here? Or Jennifer Taylor, sorry. What? Christina V's here? Oh man, there's a whole entire convention of like, I don't know what's going on exactly, but this is awesome. Okay, so have you gone to Evo then? Since you're
Yeah.
into the video gaming scene? Okay,
Yeah,
so what's Evo like?
it's big and loud. I went I've gone a couple of times, but in 2010 I went and dressed up as Han from Street Fighter, and that was really fun.
You do like the cosplay, that's for sure. I've seen you in Rainbow Dash and Twilight. So what's your favorite cosplay to do?
It's the one I just got in the mail the other day.
Oh, we're not going to get any spoilers, are we?
No, I already posted like pictures of it, and I got the wig before, so I posted pictures of the wig on every social media site ever because I was really happy with it.
I couldn't tell that little squee of happiness just kind of like didn't paint the picture for us at all.
Okay, I when I get into certain things, I just get really, really into them. Like, I mean, I have a long history of like my fandoms and whatnot, but it was like I was like My Little Pony, and then I got super into Homestuck, and now it's a show slash manga called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and it is the best thing you will ever watch or read in your entire life, and it's so amazing and fantastic. And I'm cosplaying one of the characters from that.
Yeah, I did notice you going over to Homestuck a little bit there. I've never personally read that, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. It kind of got turned off for me when the Homestuck people that are actually mean. There are some mean ones go around to pony conventions and completely just ruin people's times.
I have never witnessed that or experienced that. I mean, I think in every fandom, you're going to have some bad apples, if you want to put it that way. um, I mean, I've met some Homestucks who are rude, an overwhelming amount of them who are nice. I've met some Brodies who are rude, a good amount who are nice. It's like
Yeah.
people are people, and no matter what they like, there's always going to be some people who are not considerate of other people or this or that, which is really unfortunate because it's like you're kind of representing your fandom when you go to a convention and you're dressed up and this and that. And I don't know, but some of the people are really young. Like a lot of the type of Homestuck fans that I see people complain about are like 13, 14. It's like we were all kind of dumb at those ages, probably. The ones that I hang out with are pretty cool. They're a bit older. They're all like really into the voice acting scene, and we all do projects together and stuff.
Well, maybe I'll check it out then, because like I said, it just
It's
turned me off to
long
it a little
though,
bit. But
beware.
yeah,
Like it's long, long, long read.
I'm used to long projects. I read 8-bit theater for a long time. That is something I don't ever want to go back and reread. Oh my lord. 1,000+ comics ain't happening. But okay, so we're drawing to the end here. Is there anything you would like to promote or selflessly plug?
Trying to think if I have anything cool coming up. I can't really think of anything, to be honest. I mostly post like cats and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and coffee on my Tumblr.
Hey, cats and coffee, things you should not put together.
Yeah.
I'll do one for you. I mean, everybody should go out and buy Bravely Default. Not only is it an awesome 3DS game, it is an award-winning 3DS title.
Oh, that does remind me. Super Danganronpa 2 coming out in the fall. That's one I'm really excited about.
Super what?
Super Danganronpa 2. Or I guess they're just calling it Danganronpa 2 over here.
Okay, I was gonna say like that's a weird name. Danganronpa 2. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. Um, is there anything else you would like to advertise?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, where can people follow you, and where can people request more information if they need so?
Twitter at Rinachan, pretty simple. My Tumblr is arachnidsgrip.co.vu. I have a Facebook page if you feel like liking that. That would be super awesome as well.
And you also have KiraBuckland.com, correct?
Yeah, that's like kind of my business website for businessy things, I guess you
Okay.
could say.
Do you have a one for fan stuff? Like
I do. It's just like rinachan.com, but I don't really update it anymore since, like I said, I'm trying to move forward a little more. But I
That's
mean, I'm
true.
always on Twitter. I'm on Tumblr most late nights.
Who isn't?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Kira. It's been a pleasure. It really has. And really, to be honest with you, coffee, now that I think about it, even back then at Candlelight Gardens, you were always about coffee where the nearest Starbucks was. All right, it's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you at more gaming conventions. Are you by any chance going to RTX or SGC at all in Texas?
No, I can't really afford to travel out of state much.
Okay, well, there's a lot of stuff coming your way. I mean, BlizzCon.
I'm going to Anime Expo and Fanime because those are in my area more.
That is true. Uh, Anime Expo is kind of big, so that is
Yeah, it'll be fun. My friends and I are doing a big cosplay group and stuff.
nice, and that's July 4th weekend, correct?
Yeah.
All right, everybody. This has been Kara Buckland. She's an amazing person. Follow her, but don't be weird. Just she's random. She's a good person. Don't be weird. All right, follow her. Buy some games that she's in. I mean, Dust and Bravely Default are wonderful games. Everybody should have them on their list. They're just wonderful stories, and Dust is an amazing feat among itself because it's basically done by like 2 or 3 guys, one guy for the most part. So get it, got it, good. Kira, thanks for coming so late, and I'm sorry I'm interrupting your coffee.
No, no problem.
All right,
Have a good one.
Thanks, and have a great one.